communism. It doesn't affect our lives directly today, but the United States has been fighting for the rights and freedom for not only our country, but to spread it around the world. JFK's great Ich bin ein Berliner speech, meaning I am a Berliner in English, inspired many at the time to continue to stand up for their freedom. JFK's purpose in giving this speech was to show the world that the United States stood behind West Berlin in overcoming communism. So who gave the speech? This speech was given by John F. Kennedy. So before becoming president, he had a lot of political background. He served 3 terms in the House of Representatives. And then he served as the 35th President of the United States from 1961 through his eventual assassination in 1963. He gave his speech 5 months before he was assassinated. So when and where was this speech given? This speech was delivered on June 25th of 1963. He gave it in front of the Berlin Wall. So at the time, West and East Berlin were separated by the Berlin Wall. The West was supported by the United States with democracy, and the East was controlled by the Soviet Union under communism. And now we're going to listen to a piece of the speech.
There are many people in the world who really don't understand, or say they don't, what is the great issue between the free world and the communist world. Let them come to Berlin. There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin. And there are some who say in Europe and elsewhere we can work with the communists. Let them come to Berlin. And there are even a few who say that it's true that communism is an evil system, but it permits us to make economic progress. Lass sie nach Berlin kommen. Let them come to Berlin. There are many people in the world.
Okay, next we're going to talk about some of the methods of persuasion used in this speech. So first of all, we're starting off with ethos. So ethos is credibility. JFK's speech was very credible because obviously at the time he was the President of the United States, and he also mentions West Berlin's mayor, giving more credibility to what he's saying. Next is pathos, which is emotional. So in his speech, he heavily uses pathos, probably the most out of the 3 methods. So he constantly says how proud he is of Berlin for them working so hard to overcome communism, and he compliments them a lot throughout the speech. Then he talks about separation of loved ones. So obviously when the wall was put up, people were separated by political power, but also like some families were separated. So then he uses empathy and says like people are still trapped in communism and we need to help them. So he quotes, "Freedom is indivisible, and when one man is enslaved, all are not free." Next is logos, which is logical. JFK suggests communism as not progressive, not easy to work with, and it doesn't represent the future. He says freedom has many difficulties and democracy is not perfect, but we have never had to put up a wall to keep our people in to prevent them from leaving us. This logic shows the audience that communism affects people negatively and entraps people's freedom. Next are rhetorical devices. So the first one is a metaphor. It says, "You live in a defended island of freedom, but your life is part of the main." So in this, JFK is comparing landmass to the freedom of the world. Although West Berlin had been freed of communism at the time, others had not been. So he's saying we should spread our freedom from our island to the mainland, so talking about other parts of the world, especially referring to Eastern Berlin. Next is an allusion. So an allusion is a short reference to a familiar person, place, thing, or event. He says, "To come here in the company of my fellow American, General Clay, who has been in this city during its great moments of crisis and will come again if ever needed." So General Clay helped restore Berlin during the Soviet blockade, which happened in World War II. So he's pretty much saying that if West Berlin ever comes in and needs a lot of help, the United States will support them like they've done in the past, like General Clay has. And next is an antistrophe. Let them come to Berlin. Lasse sie nach Berlin kommen. Let them come to Berlin. So this was part of the clip that I showed you guys, and it's pretty much how he keeps repeating, let them come to Berlin, kind of telling the people that obviously West Berlin is having more progress than East Berlin, which is still under communism. So if anyone is questioning if communism is better, they should come to Berlin and see the differences. So next is significance then and now. So obviously then we were supporting West Berlin, and it's significant today because the United States still supports foreign countries. Next, unity, like world unity and peace. So at the time JFK was saying this so that Western and Eastern Berlin could be united again. And today obviously world peace is always going to be a goal for the world. And why will this speech endure? So first of all, this speech was very impactful. It used a lot of rhetorical devices and really connected emotionally with the audience. They were all very captivated by everything JFK was saying. And the reunification of Berlin. So like almost 30 years after his speech was given, the Berlin Wall did come down and Eastern and Western Berlin were reunited. So overall, Ich bin ein Berliner was an influential speech given by JFK. He showed that the United States stood behind Western Berlin for overcoming their battle against communism. It gave people of West Berlin a sense of reassurance and praise for their progress in fighting for their freedom and their rights. Thank you for listening to my speech.